Okay. So before I begin with questions, I would love you to basically introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay. Thank you, Vanessa, for this opportunity. My name is Sabina Matos. Currently, I'm the Lieutenant Governor for the state of Rhode Island. I was appointed to this position early this year, April 14. And before that, I was a member of the Providence City Council. I was the president of the Providence City Council before being appointed to this position. I always like to introduce myself as a new immigrant because I came to this country when I was 20 years old. And I was, at that time, I didn't know the language. So I experienced all the challenges that new immigrants experience arriving to a new country and learning the language and all the challenges that comes with that. And I feel very proud of being an immigrant. So, but at the same time, I always have to remember that I already have lived in the United States longer than what I live in Dominican Republic. But when I arrived in 1994 to New York City, I arrived with my parents, my mother, my father, and my sister also. And I came to the country because my mother's family, all of them were already here in the United States, and she was the last one to come. The process for us to arrive to the United States, my mother has to wait 10 years. For everybody that says like immigration is the easy process, that white people don't come here legally and all that stuff, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? For us, we waited 10 years in order for my mother to come and join the rest of her family here. When I arrived to New York City, we arrived on a Friday, and they already have a job ready for me. Actually, my uncle has secured a job at a place where he used to work. And on Monday, I started working. So that has been my experience here in the United States. It's like arriving and jumping into things and running and trying to figure it out along the way. So that was my experience. I stayed in New York City for 2.5, almost three months, I would say. Then I came to Rhode Island, to Providence, to join my parents and my sister who came right away within the first week that we arrived. They came, we knew we wanted to establish our home in Providence, Rhode Island. So they came ahead and I joined them after.
Wow, that's amazing. I love to hear that you feel very proud to be an immigrant.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah, I feel it's a word of honor, I would say, though I feel like sometimes now the name has changed, shifted negatively, I think, in the world we live in now. But I think being an immigrant is a beautiful thing. I come from immigrant parents, so I find it very inspiring. And I would love you to be able to elaborate more on the challenges you faced growing up, not knowing the language, coming into a different culture, more challenges in your career. Did you ever face any discrimination? How did you overcome all of those challenges that you were faced?
Yeah, so I went to my elementary and high school in the Dominican Republic. I did not start college in the Dominican Republic because we were expecting that we were coming to the United States. So, in waiting, like some years went by, 2 years, that I could have started college. Instead, I did like some type of technical training in Dominican Republic, office administration type of training until I came to the United States. Then when I came here, at the beginning, I just went to work. First of all, in New York City, I worked at a factory in Queens. The factory, what we used to do was a lot of clothing, packaging of clothing. I always remember at that time, the movie of The Lion King was coming out. So most of the clothing for children's clothing that we were packaging was all Lion King theme. And part of my job was also to bring back and forth the designs from the factory to Manhattan, downtown, to the designers and back and forth. So that's to the factory is part of what I did a lot. Eventually, when I moved to Rhode Island, I also started working here. Rhode Island, we were at that time more than now. We were well known for the jewelry industry. So there's a lot of jewelry factories here. There's still some, but it's not as many as before. So I used to work through team agencies and some of the factories in Rhode Island, packaging jewelries. Eventually, I went to work to this factory. It's called Swarovski Jewelry. So we know the Swarovski crystal. So the two, they had two factories here in Rhode Island, and I was working in the one that does the packaging of the jewelry. And I worked there before I decided to go back to school. My parents encouraged me and my sister to go back to go to college. And they told us, you know, we are going to take care of paying the bills. We just want you to go and get your education. So before going to college, I started taking some English classes as some of the local nonprofit organizations that were providing those classes after work in the factory, until I decided to just leave my job in the factory and go to school full time. And I went to Rhode Island College, and there's where I graduated with a degree in communication. I always say that I just wanted to make my life more difficult while I was learning English, the English language, trying to go for a degree in communication. And oh, I have some funny story I can tell you about that. Then I graduated in 2001 from Rhode Island College. While I was going to college, one of the requirements for my degree was to do an internship in communication field. My concentration was on public relations. So I reached out to one of the Spanish radio stations to see if I can do an internship, and they say yes. And while I was there, I was able to volunteer with them for many community events, doing community relation type of work with them. And I was able to connect with the Latina community here in the state of Rhode Island and learn more about what was happening and learn more about the issues. So those are kind of the beginnings of how I got involved into the community here in Rhode Island, and eventually that led me to get into politics. It was tough learning the language. As I said, I have some funny stories of me learning the language in going to college at the same time. But I've been fortunate that I've been able to find a network of support here within the state of Rhode Island, and that there are organizations and there are institutions that are part of the safety net that are helping immigrants to be successful coming to this country.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I would love to hear some funny stories if you would like to share them.
So I always remember that one of my first one is I transferred from the International Institute, was taking English classes, then went to the Community College of Rhode Island to take English classes. Then I decided, okay, I want to start my career at Rhode Island College. So I was like, let me take some classes that doesn't require that much English, right? So I decided to take drawing. Okay. But I didn't know that at the time that Rhode Island College actually has an excellent art program. So,
oh my God.
And My artistic skills are not the best, I have to say. So I have some funny stories. I remember one of the first things the professor asked us was to go outside and to draw a landscape. But I didn't even know the meaning of the word landscape. So I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So that can tell you.
Wow. Well, I admire your risk taking, you know?
I have learned to laugh about it. You know, it was tough at that time when I was going through it, but now
Right.
looking back, I was like, oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's those stories that with time you learn to laugh. It's better to
Yes.
laugh, right?
Yes.
Wow, that's funny. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
But I could imagine the difficulty of coming into a whole different culture, not knowing the language, you know, the hardships with that. And did you ever go with did you ever miss the DR when you just came, and how were you able to retain more of your identity also, you know, part of your Dominican identity with coming here?
Yes. So when I arrived, honestly, coming here as a 20 years old, being an adult already, I felt like I'm leaving everything behind. And I said I was going to go back. I thought that I was going to work enough money to go back. I wanted to go back in December, and I thought that I was going to stay there. But it was tough at the beginning, getting used to living in a new place, learning the language. And one of the things that I felt is I wasn't sure if I was gonna find my place and be part of this society, and I was gonna be able to contribute if I have anything to contribute. I didn't think I could do that,
Right.
but eventually moving to Rhode Island, being connected with my cousins, my family members that were here, I learned to get used to living in the United States. And I love it here. I love Rhode Island. I love Providence. I fell in love with Providence in Rhode Island. I don't see myself living anyplace else.
Wow, look how life works, right?
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's interesting to know that you came in with the mindset that you're gonna go back, and then you fell in love with your new home, you know?
That's right.
And I love that. And I would like to hear more or less. You already spoke briefly what inspired you, you know, with the community, getting that exposure first, but I would love to hear more about what inspired you to reach the career as a lieutenant governor, more about that.
So I started to get very involved in my neighborhood, the neighborhood association, the organization that built affordable housing in the neighborhood. At that time, the name was Onlyville Housing. And two council members reached out to me and asked me to run for office. And at the beginning, the first thing I said is no, like running for office is not for me. Through my connection with my friend Melba Latina, she was very involved with the Latino Political Action Committee, the Latino Civic Fund, and I used to volunteer in other campaigns. And I really enjoy being a volunteer for other campaigns, but I never thought I was gonna run for office myself. These two council members reached out and asked me to run for office. Wow. The first thing I said is no, I'm not gonna do it. And they told me, you know what, just think about it and take some time, think about it and consider the options. And that's what I did. I think I always say that I'm following the research that shows that females, we never think we're ready. We never think we can run for office. And in the research shows that we have to be asked on average 7 times in order for us to run for office. So I think I was very prescriptive of the research, right? I didn't see myself. I was afraid because of my language skills. I didn't know, I didn't think I have enough knowledge of the English language to run for office. I didn't think I was ready. I was thinking about, okay, I needed to do this, I needed to do that. So we always think about, for females mostly, we always think about why I'm not ready. And we don't think a lot about what I have, what I bring, and what I can add to what I bring to the table. So it took me some time to make the decision, and eventually I did say yes, and I ran for office the first time in 2006. And that it was a tough campaign. I was running against an incumbent of 24 years, was in that position. And it was challenging because at that time I was a single mother also, and it was really tough for me running for office. I faced I faced a lot of pushback and in a lot of discrimination and also just people didn't want to support me because they didn't know if I was serious about running for office, right? And running against an incumbent is always challenging. People don't want to take a chance to support you, you don't win, and then the incumbent is going to be upset. So I did not win that time when I ran in 06. And then I thought I was not going to run again. It's like, okay, I tried this, done, not doing it again.
Right.
But then for 2010, I was talking this over with my husband, who I met. He came as a volunteer for my first campaign. That's how we met, actually. So, you know, we were talking about, well, maybe I should run for office again. And yeah, we made the decision, decided to run. I was getting ready for the announcement of that. Then I was pregnant again. So I was like, okay, the elections is every 4 years.
Wow.
If I don't run now, it's a lot of time is going to go by. So we made the decision. I decided to run, and I announced when I was 5 months pregnant. So you see my announcement for running for office when you can see my pregnancy showing.
Wow.
And I worked really hard. My daughter was born in March. I started my campaign at the end of March, April, door knocking and working hard. I was able to be successful this time. I was elected to the Providence City Council the second time I ran.
Wow, that's amazing. And how have you built that resilience and confidence throughout the years in the course of your career? How have you built that?
I think that being an immigrant, that gives me a lot of strength and resiliency already. Just the experience of moving, taking off, and moving as an adult to a new place and starting over. So the way I think about it is, if I have to start over again, I already have an advantage, you know? It's like if I see myself that I have to start all over again, I'm starting from an advantage point because just thinking about coming to this country, didn't know the language. If I have to start all over right now, I already have my education as my degree from Rhode Island College. I would say go Rick, my school that I went to. I already know the language. So it's just having that mindset, knowing that it's good the accomplishment and being where I am, but always have, and my father always have said this about, you always have to be ready to start all over if you need to. Like you cannot stay in a place, in a job that because you're afraid to start all over new. So I think that's always part of my drive, just to know that if I have to start all over, I already have a lot of resources that I didn't have at the beginning. So I can do it.
Right.
And also just to remember that titles and positions they're not forever, you know. Right now, the position of lieutenant governor, I'm here right now. I'm working really hard, trying to do the best I can on this job, looking to represent well the females, because I'm just the second female in this position,
Wow.
but also I'm the first minority in this position. And it's hard that we feel that weight in our shoulders when we are the first one in a position, but it's the reality. If I do something wrong, it's unfortunately it's gonna reflect on the rest of the population, of the rest of the minority community. So I'm working really hard to do the best possible job I can, trying to go everywhere that I can to make sure that I can show in every corner of the state of Rhode Island that I'm here to listen to everyone and to work for everyone, to represent everyone. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I go to every corner where no one that has my skin color or my hair texture has gone before, on my accent, and to show that we can be leaders also in this space, and we are here to work with everyone. And I want to open doors for the next generation. I think that is key. I have been blessed with this opportunity. In part of what I think the blessings why I've been put here, God has directed my steps here, is to make sure that I open the door for the next generation and make it easier. So the next person of color in this position doesn't have to carry the weight of the position, you know, just to eventually we should be able to be, it's okay that we all make mistakes, and our mistakes should not be, my whole community shouldn't pay the consequences of my mistake.
Right. Wow. I can't even imagine the position, that pressure of representing your people well, right? And I would love to know more, like, how did you feel when, you know, you reached that position, knowing that you're the first person of color to have that position, the first Dominican American to reach that position? Like, how was that for you?
Yes, so I was getting ready to run for mayor of the city of Providence when this position showed. I'm sorry, my computer speed. Let me just slow it down. So I was getting ready to run for mayor of the city of Providence. And I was term limited in this city council, and I loved the work that I was doing. I want to continue to do the work. When I was asked to apply for the position of lieutenant governor, at the beginning, I hesitate a lot. I really was not thinking about submitting my name for it, because I thought I had a plan, right? I thought I had a plan, but God had other plans for me. I went through the process, and I can tell you, when the governor called me, I was asked to meet with him again, because there were some additional questions that he had for me. I cannot tell you exactly how he said it, because it feels like a blur. It's like I was in shock. And then after, I was like, this really is happening. And then I felt so overwhelmed. I was thinking, oh my God, this means so much. But I can tell you that things really clicked on me. I believe it was a week or 2 weeks after the announcement was made, after the inauguration. The governor has asked for us to have a public celebration so people could come. And at the time, I was like, why we need to do another, like, we have sent press release, they have been covered enough, why we have to do this? And I was walking to visiting Boys and Girls Club. They had a vaccination clinic. And I saw some young people that were outside, and they were so excited and so happy that I was there. That's when it clicked to me that what this means for the young women that were there, minority, but also Caucasians, females that were there. And there were also some young boys in there. And then it clicked on me that this means so much to so many people. I feel like it's an honor for me to have this opportunity to serve my community that way. And it's also an honor for me to be in this role of being the first person from my Dominican community, from my Latina community, from my Black community in this position. It's an honor in that I'm always trying to do my best to make sure that they feel proud of the work that I'm doing.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks. And I would love to know, in what ways do you believe women govern differently?
We have a different style. What I have found in even working with other females, I see other leaders here in Rhode Island are females. I think we are thinking more of a community perspective in the decision making that we make. And I think and also we have a different way about how we go about it. And sometimes people think, okay, we should be more aggressive, we should be more like the men. But I think there is a reason why our approach is different, and we should embrace our approach, and we should be able, and there should be a space for us to lead in the way we are, and with our different way how we go about making decisions, and how we think about it, in how we try to approach things from a different perspective. I think there is value on having that type of different type of leadership, being part of the leadership in general. It doesn't have to be just one style of leadership.
Yeah, I like how you pointed that out. I agree. I see a lot of women sometimes feel that they have to be like a man when they lead, and maybe that they will be taken more seriously. But I like how you stated that, because you know, how are we gonna separate each other? You know, women qualities are still very good to lead. We don't have to be like men, you know.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
It's a lot of pressure, because I have feel a lot of pressure also. I always say people always want to tell me how to do my job, you know, which is frustrating, right? Yeah. So people always want to tell me, oh, you should do this, you should do that. You gotta be more aggressive. You gotta be like, you know, I think I have a different leadership style, and there should be a space for the different type of leadership style.
I agree. Yeah. And continuing with that conversation about the stigma that women don't hold sufficient leadership traits, or, you know, some people don't trust women to obtain those qualities. How do you set yourself every day to prove people wrong?
So I think that the best answer to negative behavior is for you to try as much as possible to be positive, and to just show them by doing the work. You know, that's the best, what I call the best revenge, is doing the work. Doing the work in showing that even though your style and my style is not the same, we can complement one another. And it necessarily doesn't mean that your style is wrong and mine is right. So I think it's just about doing the work. It's important for everyone to know that you're willing to to work hard, that you're willing to show up and do the work, and that let your work speak for itself.
Yes. Yeah. And women running for office have historically faced numerous of challenges. I would like to know, what advice do you have for potential young females who have the desire to go into your path, but are too intimidated or too scared to experience the hardships that come with that?
So there are a few things. One is look for mentors. I have many mentors I have mentors, females and males also. You can find support, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's the biggest challenge sometimes. We don't want to ask for help, or we think, oh, I'm going to be bothering this person. You won't believe how many people have reached out to, and I says, listen, I would love to have the opportunity to sit down with you, and I wanted to learn from your how you do the work, and if you can give me. There are so many people willing to take that time and sit down with you and give you feedback and be the mentor. So don't be afraid to ask for that help. The other thing is get involved with your community. Find out what is the thing that you have a passion for. The volunteer for different organizations. Build your network. Because that's going to be key for the future of your either political or just professional career. Make sure that you build your network and be respectful with everyone. We can disagree, but we don't have to be disrespectful how we disagree with other individuals.
And to find a final question to end this, in adding with ways that women govern differently, I would like to know, what special qualities do you feel that Latinas bring in the government, in your position?
Yeah. So again, I think that resiliency that we have for many of us, because I always want to the disclaimer, not all Latinas are immigrants. There's Latinos that have been here for generations. Right. I just to say that there are many Latinos that did not cross the frontier crossed them, right? So let's gotta remember that. But I think that for us, our families' values and support is really strong. We bring that, and we try to be. We have the resiliences because we have seen our mothers, grandmothers being leaders in our families, right? Yes. So those are values that we bring and that we contribute to this society. I can think about in my family, the leadership and that my mother and my grandmother had. So also, we shouldn't underestimate those skills that we learn in our own family. Mm-hmm. In my case, I can tell you early on, my mother was a teacher. When I was in a young age, my father was the mayor of my hometown. When we moved to the capital, my house became like the place that people used to come to if they needed help, if they needed to go and see a doctor. Mm-hmm. in the capital. I think I learned leadership by observing my parents, both of them, how they serve. They're always willing to help in assist anyone that has a need. So there are so many leadership skills that we learn from our parents also, and I'm pretty sure if you guys think back to your own families, you can see that happen. And sometimes we don't label the same thing. Right. Yeah. But we do it. Yes. It's like the recycling. People love to say, oh, the Latino community or the minority community don't recycle. It's like, we do recycle. We reuse a lot, right? We don't call it the same thing. Right. We have a different language for it, but we do.
Different terms, yes.
Yes.
That's funny, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I agree with that.